I was saying just there before we came on, like, so I like Wimbledon, I like watching the tennis, I always have done, and yesterday I was watching the golf, and you know, it's like you end up flicking round, and I saw a tweet from Stephen Doyle that game was about to start, Kyrgios, and I immediately just put it straight on. I turned the golf off, so I watched the first set of that before I actually came into town last night, so it's amazing, really, when something like that. Kyrgios has acted like an arsehole, we know that, and he's acted like an arsehole for a long time, but there's a bit of buzz around him, and that's the thing. So all of a sudden now there's a spark about him, and people are going to want to watch tennis just because he's been a bit of an arse. So I don't know. I think characters are always great to have in any sport, and he's certainly one of those. Yeah,
for sure. Like I don't want to say I really like Nick Kyrgios. Some of the stuff that he does kind of annoys me a little bit. But at least he's truthful and honest.
He's created a spark, hasn't he? There's a spark there now, and he's been knocked out, so we're not going to see him. But if he's playing at the US Open or whatever it would be, you're going to watch him because to see what sort of carry on is happening on court.
I think as well it makes it easier to watch and makes it a little bit more entertaining when you kind of see a disruptor like that in a sport that is so ingrained in the institution that has been Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, Andy Murray. Anybody who says anything about them, you need to leave this press room immediately. You're not allowed to hang around Wimbledon. Nick Kyrgios is one of those people who's like, I'm not going to be reverent towards Rafa Nadal just because he's a legend of the game. And I'm going to be myself, and I like that.
But you also have, like, you know, we've had these stories in the women's tennis actually for years, because obviously you have the rivalry, say, between Serena Williams, Maria Sharapova. They just do not like each other, and it is brilliant. And we've seen a lot of that kind of bitterness, I suppose, for the want of a better word, and bite in women's matches. That there have been the men's matches too, but they've been much more, I suppose, genteel.
It's more respect, isn't it? I've got to respect him, is what Owen's saying there as well. Anyone that talks bad about the top four, badly about the top four over the last 10 years since they've been dominating, it's like almost you discarded that, so you can't say that about him. Whereas the women's game has had spark in years, but this now with Kyrgios in there, you hope now that he can actually go on and be a bit of a competitor over the next year, a serious competitor anyway, because it would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, he really needs to.
Yeah, he's got to go on to the next level before. He probably needed to be at Nadal's level or Federer's level before he's actually been the way that he is. It's almost but I don't know.
I think he needs a highly paid sports psychologist, somebody like me, who could go along, help him channel that rage, create something productive with it.
Make your pitch.
I should have brought my business cards in.
This is Dragon's Den. Nick Kyrgios is one of the Dragons. I don't know, he's yesterday in his press conference was very interesting, talking very honestly about just having the wrong attitude at times. He was like, I kind of gave up on that game. I shouldn't have given up on that game. But
it's very hard to stay...
Completely.
You know, in tennis in particular, and golf, it's so hard to keep that kind of focus. Like, I've been to Wimbledon a few times, and you're watching them, and they're in the middle of this most genteel but yet baying crowd, when you're allowed to make noise for like 10 seconds and the place goes nuts, and then you have to shut up, and then you just hear the ball bouncing. It's really tough on the mind. And then the likes of Kyrgios, when he's just a bit random as a person, I think. I don't know what's going on in his head. Obviously, we don't know, and we don't know what's going on, but is he that abnormal? I suppose the only difference is I think he might just be expressing what the other players are feeling. A lot of the time they're just smarter in that they hold it in. I think that's the difference. Yeah,
it might be. We're going to have Colin Buhig in a little bit later on as well. He went through that beef yesterday on OTB AM. Back to OTB AM on this Friday morning. It is 9:09 and Colin Buhig is here.
Hi, lads.
Causing a bit of a stir yesterday, telling us to watch a game between a tennis player called Rafa Nadal and Nick Kyrgios. And lo and behold, it lived up to all the billing.
It was the match of the tournament. I called it here yesterday, 24 hours ago. Myself, Ger, Anthony Miles has said match of the tournament. It had it all. Kyrgios, when he wanted to, was absolutely brilliant. He threw a couple of straps and he did 2 underarm serves, which is what we called. That's ignoring the fact, of course, that I did call that Kyrgios to win in 5 sets.
He got booed by the crowd.
But he loves that. He loves when he gets booed. So I had it all, the pantomime film, but the actual quality of tennis was superb. And if only he did that a bit more, I mean, that's the whole thing with Kyrgios. That's what we're going to get into. But it was fantastic. It was a great game.
Let's just start with the underhand serve before we get into the press conference stuff. It's brilliant. Why don't crowds love it?
I think it's good, but it seems that his colleagues, his peers, hate it because it seems it's disrespectful. But Nadal stands so far behind the baseline, and it was game point for Kyrgios in this point. He did a 2-5 in the first set. He's so far behind, I'm just going to think it over. And then the little swagger when he does it straight away, he just like down to straight back next game, and Nadal's is there shaking his head. I mean, it's the antithesis of what Nadal stands for. You know, Nadal's pure power and energy and stamina, and you know, Kyrgios' deft touches, and you know, I'll try when I want to. I mean, they wreck each other's heads, and it's absolutely brilliant to watch.
I want to see somebody on championship point do an underhand serve and win a slam like that.
What he does is he calls it before he does it. Before matches, he said, I'm going to do the underarm serve. And he called it yesterday before Nadal, and he actually went and did it. Now, it was a great match, lads. Brilliant game. But at the start, it looked like it was going to be a complete disaster because he was loved 3 down, Kyrgios, in the first few minutes. It got broken in the first game, probably to do with the fact that he was in the pub the night before, past midnight drinking, just to relax himself before the match.
He's my type of man, him, I tell you. He's my type of man.
So he didn't get going.
Nick Kyrgios.
Didn't get going until the start of the second set.
He could be my favourite ever tennis player, this boy.
He broke Nadal at the start of the second set, and that's when he came alive. That's when he got a fresh head and he started going. But probably the biggest talking point of the match was halfway through the third set. Kyrgios went straight for Nadal's chest with a shot, absolutely smacked it at him. He clearly went straight for him. And I think we should listen to it in the press conference. This was Kyrgios' reaction when it was brought up in the press conference.
How important do you think it is for tennis as a whole to have those kind of rivalries? But do you regret not apologising for hitting him with the ball in the third set?
Why would I apologise?
Well, because that's the convention, isn't it?
Of what?
Of tennis.
Is it?
If you hit someone with the ball.
I didn't hit him. He was racking, no? But why would I apologise? I won the point.
He didn't look too pleased.
And? Well,
But you seemed to wind him up, and then he would then win.
I don't care. Why would I apologise? I mean, dude's got how many slams? How much money in the bank account? I think he can take a ball to the chest, bro. I'm not going to apologise to him at all.
Did you aim it straight at him?
Yeah, I actually was going for him, yeah. I wanted to hit him square in the chest. Lucky he's got decent hands.
Decent hands, Rafa Nadal. I love that.
That was just one of his go-to plays yesterday, Kyrgios. The other one was when he attacked the umpire, calling him a nobody and you're a disgrace because Kyrgios was unhappy with Rafa's slow play.
Can I just point out that when Serena Williams had a row, she was lambasted, drawn across the coals by everyone for weeks, and when Kyrgios does it, people have a laugh.
Oh, well, no, people were getting stuck into it. There's a lot of people against it. They were getting stuck. All the comments online were saying this guy's a disgrace to tennis.
There is a different tone. I just like to point that out.
Well, you should see him in the press conference. I mean, I completely understand that, and actually I agree with a lot of it, but he genuinely doesn't seem to care that much. I mean, at the end of that press conference yesterday, at the end of it, he was just like, well, it's only tennis, so it doesn't matter. It's only a match.
Let's address that very point. Serena Williams, it was said about her at the time that there was an entitlement to her and how she behaved towards
What was it? What did she do? She had to go to the umpire,
the US Open against Naomi Osaka. But I do wonder that if Nick Kyrgios is the symbol that we have, somebody who's rebelling against the establishment in tennis, because the establishment is very important in tennis. Are the bigger players, your Serena Williams, the Rafa Nadals, do they feel more entitled than the rest of them to get the marginal calls, to feel like that they should be treated like kings and queens walking around Wimbledon or whatever arena they're currently in?
I think that's definitely an argument, but I think it's a separate argument. I think Kyrgios stands alone here because the guy goes out of his way not to put effort in as a defence mechanism for not achieving what he's supposed to achieve. The guy's natural talent is outrageous.
That where he's putting his efforts?
Where?
Do you know? Well, that's what I would say. Like you said, the defence mechanism. Maybe Kyrgios, and we don't know who he is. For all we know, maybe he's just this lad who happens to be really good at tennis, but doesn't care that much and is happy to enjoy and create a bit of chaos as he goes along. Sometimes you have wonderful talents who couldn't be bothered. That
was the thing on the screen, actually, her quote that she accused the umpire of sexism and vows to fight for women. I think a lot of people had an issue with that at the time. It wasn't just her tone, it was the fact that she was accusing the umpire of sexism at that point. I think Serena's point there was, and again, I don't know, obviously I wasn't there, I think her point is, and this discussion illustrates it perfectly, that when Kyrgios does the same thing, we're laughing it off, whereas a woman does it, This was before the discourse around Serena.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying this is in general, this is life in general for women, in that anything a woman says or does, especially if she has a row, if you do anything that's perceived to be anyway outside ladylike, you will be treated more harshly for it.
I agree.
And that was her point.
But that was the reaction to Serena at the time, wasn't it? The way that she was kind of called a maniac or whatever it may have been.
I think that's been the case about Kyrgios. So Kyrgios has had so much stick for such a long time now over his own court.
It's not as personal, I feel, though. Is it not?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Put it this way, right? This might back up the point, actually, what you're saying, which is completely true. In the first round, Kyrgios played Jordan Thompson, who's his compatriot. First round game outside court. At the same time, Ash Barty, Australian, women's world #1, reigning French Open champion. Those matches were played simultaneously. Channel 7 in Australia opted to play Kyrgios Thompson ahead of Barty, women's world #1 French Open champion. And actually Kyrgios was asked about that afterwards, and he was like, that's kind of out of my control, but they probably should have shown the other match. You know, so he is box office, for better or for worse. He is box office. People go to watch him all the time.
I actually forgot the game was on, so I was watching the golf yesterday, and I was saying I saw Stephen Doyle tweeted around the game. Immediately, I turned over because Kyrgios was on. That's what networks are saying. There's going to be spark with this guy playing.
Yeah.
So he's now a personality in his own right. So who you're going to watch? It was the same as years ago when McEnroe was playing. You knew there was going to be a spark when McEnroe played, so that's why you want to watch him. That's ultimately why it is. It's nothing to do with. I don't feel as though it's to do with any other gent. I just think he is a personality you actually want to watch playing.
He did also say that's definitely not why I lost in relation to the umpire.
He did, yeah. To give him his credit, he said to have another part of the press conference, he was asked, do you think you'll ever win a Grand Slam? And he says, I'm way, way off that because I don't have the dedication of the other players. I'm just not that professional.
That's what I'm saying. It just seems to me that he just happens to be really good, but not that bothered.
But then someone asked him, basically, are you happy? Are you happy with the way you are? And he was like, yeah, I kind of like the way I am. I kind of like the way I do these things. But the one question in the press conference that he didn't have an answer for, and he had an answer for everything, like everything that was thrown at him. One person asked him, Ash Barty, she used to be a bit unfocused, and then she committed to it, and look what happened to her. Do you think that will ever happen to you? Do you think you'll ever be focused? And Kyrgios sat there and genuinely thought about the question, and he was like, I don't have an answer for that at the moment, sorry.
Yeah.
But it was very self-reflective,
How old
that
is he?
part.
How old?
24.
Yeah, so
and people are asking him in the press conference, 24, will we see you back at Wimbledon again? He's 24.
Yeah.
But I mean, such are his commitment issues. The furthest he's ever been in a Grand Slam is the quarter-final. And the last time that happened was 4.5 years ago at the Australian Open. Yeah. He's won 5 career titles in total.
That reflective side is very encouraging for Kyrgios fans. The idea that he's saying, well, there were sets or games that I didn't try in today in his post-match press conference. And that kind of shows that he's actually realising this. And the first step to actually addressing it is realising that it exists. So hopefully encouraging times, because I like him around the game.